I'm back, 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 back. I'm back. Hello and welcome to my channel. As told by Gabby, Gabby, let's get started. Ever since my last video I posted about my job and living in Spain, I've been getting a lot of questions about how I'm living here, what program I'm in, and then people who have heard about the program are asking me how I applied, my living situation, all kinds of questions. So I figured I'd come on here and answer them. I tried to answer them in the comments and through email, and I think it might just be better just to make a video. So here we are. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my experience in the Auxiliar de Conversacion program here in Spain. So for the last 9 or 10 months, I think it's 10 now, wow, long time. Okay, so for the last 10 months, I've been living and working in the Valencia region of Spain in a city called Alicante as an Auxiliar de Conversacion. So now that we've gotten my fancy smancy job title out of the way, as far as the application process goes, it depends on what country you're coming from. What the program does is they hire native English speakers from the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines. I believe there are other countries as well, and they hire us to work in Spanish schools. We're hired by the government. So as far as the US process, how did I find out about it? So in the summer of 2017, I studied abroad in Madrid for 6 weeks. And while I was there, I met a bunch of Americans that were living and working there. And you know me, nosy, I wanted to know. I was like, how are you doing this? How are you able to do this? And they told me about the program. So I kept that in the back of my mind. I was only a sophomore at the time, going into my junior year of college. So I kept that as like my backup plan. So then when my senior year rolled around, I was like, this is what I want to do. So the application process opened in January. I am a procrastinator, so I didn't apply till March, but it runs from January to April, I believe, so it's too late to apply for this year, but it's definitely something you should start thinking about, researching and preparing for next year if it's something that you're interested in. But yes, so I applied in March and I was accepted in May. So when I was accepted in May, they told me what region I was going to, and I got my placement in July. So this program is an initiative by the Spanish ministry where they hire native English and I also believe French speakers to work in Spanish schools and work as ambassadors of the English language and represent the country that they are from. And when I say represent the country that they are from, I mean you teach them about the holidays. Like, I'm from the US, so I taught about Thanksgiving, I taught about Christmas, the 4th of July. I mean, some holidays overlap, but there are also holidays for people that are from the UK or people that are from the Philippines or Canada. So it really just varies, but you try to be as inclusive as possible. Like, I try to include as many things that I know about or are familiar with or even research to help the kids have a well-rounded experience. So as far as requirements for the program, you only require to have a bachelor's degree, or you will have a bachelor's degree by the end of the year preceding your first term as a teacher, or you are in your, I believe, junior or senior year of your bachelor's program. I'm not sure exactly how that works because I graduated right after I applied, so I had my bachelor's degree. But I do know some people that were in their final year, their senior year of college, that were also working in this program. Oh, another requirement, English. You need to know English fluently, preferably native speakers. So, visa process. I'm not going to go into too much details about the visa process because depending on what country, what state, where you're from, it changes so much. So I can't speak too much on it. But I will say the common denominator is that it is stressful. So if you can start early, please do so. And read the fine print, read it over again, make lists, make checklists, make sure you have all your documents in order because there's nothing more frustrating than getting to your appointment or getting to where you need to be, thinking you've made it, thinking you're good, and reading the fine print and seeing that you missed something. So double check, triple check. I'm gonna link some of the Facebook groups below that helped me with this process, but also you have to be aware and double and triple check as well those, because sometimes people are speaking from their own experience. My visa application process, being someone that is from Virginia, is gonna be different. It's gonna look different than someone who's from California or from Texas or from New York, and that's just the way it is. Like, and I know in a lot of states you have to make an appointment for the visa process. When I was doing it, my consulate was the Washington DC consulate. I believe they serve Virginia, Maryland, and North Carolina. You just walk in. So it really just depends. It really depends. You need to do your research and make sure that you are looking up the information for the correct consulate, because I'm telling you, there's nothing more frustrating. I was able to get it done on the first try, but I'm also just like a very detail-oriented person. Like, I will read and reread, make several lists, will check and recheck. Even when I was on my way to the appointment, I kept checking and rechecking my paperwork and making sure I had everything correctly. Yeah, and if you do mess up, don't be discouraged. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Just make sure you stay in communication. If you have questions, ask them, and you can search through the group. The group has been around for a while, so whatever question or problem you have, someone's probably already asked it, and it's probably already been answered in the group, so just make sure you look through it. As far as visa goes, we are here on a student visa, so we are not allowed to work outside of the program. We work, depending on what region you're in, anywhere from 12, 16 to 20 hours a week, which is how college students who are in their junior or senior year are able to participate in this program, because it's honestly not that taxing. It's like 4 to 5 hours a day, which I love because it gives you time to explore the city. But this is strictly informational, so we're gonna stick to it. Expenses. Do they cover your moving, travel, visa expenses? Hell no! So when you apply through the ministry, you shoulder all of the expenses of getting the visa, flying out, finding housing, all of these things. Once we start working, we are paid a monthly stipend, depending on what region you're in. I believe the highest stipends are in Madrid in the Valencia region, which is 1,000 euros, which is livable. But a lot of times people pick up private classes with students. Usually you're able to pick up students from your school or in your city or on Facebook groups. It's relatively easy to find private classes, and a lot of us teach online as well. I teach for VIP Kid and Cambly. That is more recent for me though. I started that during the lockdown for something to do, and I like it so far. So, location in the application process. Are you able to choose your location? When you're applying, you're allowed to choose your top 3 regions. So I chose Madrid as my first choice. My second choice was Catalonia, which is where Barcelona is. That was my goal. And then my third choice was País Vasco, which I had never heard of, but it sounded kind of cool and it looked pretty when I Googled it, so I went with it. But I got none of them because I waited so long to apply. I had a really high application number, which honestly doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to get what you applied for. But I ended up getting Comunidad Valenciana, and I am so grateful because I love it here. It was an amazing experience. I'm right by the beach. But yeah, so I would say also, for those of you watching that have already applied and maybe didn't get the region that you want, do not be discouraged. I did not get any of my choices. I got Valencian Community and I love it here. I say if you're able to and you're willing, give it a shot, see how it goes, see how you like it, and go from there. Also, as far as the regions go, you can't choose your city. You can choose your region, you cannot choose your city. So when I got the Valencia region, that was when I first found out I was accepted to the program, and then about a month and a half later, I found out what city I would be in. So yeah, there's also that. You can like write in the comments what your preference is, but like, I don't know if they really read them. But sometimes they do. If you have a partner, I know that you can put that you have, like if you're traveling with a husband or wife, a boyfriend, a friend that you want to be near, you can put that in your application. If you put both of each other's names in the application, they do their best to try and put you near each other. So what exactly do we do as language assistants? We assist in the classroom. We're not technically allowed to be alone with the kids. There's always a teacher in the room with us, but we help lead lesson plans. We do classroom activities. We provide opportunities for students to speak with a native speaker, because I personally studied Spanish in high school. I did a couple years in college, but there is nothing like being in the country speaking to native speakers. There's just nothing like it. The experience, like my language, oof, Like, my language skills got so much better by being in the country. So that's the opportunity that we provide. We're in the class and we're able to talk to them. They're able to ask us questions. They're able to see our accents, hear our accents. We're able to explain things to them, and they're actually hilarious. It's actually really fun. I really enjoy it. So the money question, money, because I know y'all nosy. I'm nosy. I would want to know too. I believe, as far as I know, Madrid and Valencia region make the most money. They make 1,000 euros a month, and I believe most of the other regions make 700. I know in the past few years some regions have gone up a little bit. I don't know too much about that, so I'm not going to speak on it, but I'll speak from what I know. I am paid 1,000 euros a month, which is very livable, especially in the Valencia region. Spain is very affordable. Another common question that I get a lot is, how much money should you bring? It depends on what lifestyle you live. Bare minimum, you need at least 1 to 2 months of rent, because you need startup costs. To get started, you need to pay first month of rent, a deposit. Sometimes it will require you to pay last month's rent, and sometimes if you go through an agency, you'll have to pay an agency fee. The deposit is usually the cost of the month of rent, and then you'll need to be able to cover your expenses until you get your first paycheck. So our first day of work is October. It's in October, so you won't be paid until November. Usually, I'm in the Valencia region, and in the past few years, they have been paying Auxes as late as January, unfortunately. I was one of the lucky ones. I was paid the week after. Actually, I was paid the day after Thanksgiving, and that was 3 weeks late. But some people didn't get paid till January. I think there was even a case of February, which is really alarming, because then you would need 3 to 4 months of living expenses. And I don't know about anyone watching this, but I was fresh out of college. I wouldn't have had that kind of money. So yeah, just be mindful, be aware, plan ahead. But yeah, it just depends on how you live. Like, if you're the type that wants to eat out every single day, go to all the clubs, always traveling, always spending money, shopping, you should probably bring a little bit more than 2 to 3 months of living to help. Well, you should bring what your 2 to 3 months of living looks like. So what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. But I would say 2 to 3 months of savings, and then have a budget, make a plan. Also, if you are moving to the Valencia region, make sure you're prepared for it. Hopefully they fix things. I mean, once you get paid the first time, you're paid on time every time after. But it's that first paycheck that we get in people in Valencia region. So just prepare for that. Not saying it's going to happen this year. Honestly, don't know. They were very good and continued to pay us through the quarantine, even though we weren't physically in the schools. We were working virtually. So hopefully that will continue, but be prepared, because there are some struggles when you first get here with setting up your bank account, visa situation. So just be prepared. It's no fun being in a foreign country, not being able to do anything because you can't afford it, because you didn't bring as much savings as maybe you should have. And do you have to speak Spanish to be in the program? No. However, I highly recommend learning at least the basics before you get here, like hi, bye. Depending on where you live, I know that in larger cities, there are a lot of English speakers. I live by the beach in a tourist area, so there are some English speakers. There are some people who know some English, but it's not the expectation. Like, usually people will speak to you in Spanish unless they notice that you're an English speaker, and they might try and practice with you. But it would be helpful. One of my biggest regrets is not enrolling in a Spanish class as soon as I got here. I know enough Spanish to get by. I knew enough Spanish to work in the embassy, to go to the grocery store, to find housing, to do all of these things, just because I had prior knowledge and studied it in high school and college. But if you didn't have that, I think it would be very helpful to learn as much as you can before you get here. But it is not a requirement. They will not test you. They will not, I don't even think they ask you. So yeah, don't let the language deter you from coming. Being in the country, being in the environment helps you learn quickly, faster than I've ever learned before, ever learned being in a Spanish class. I guess I should talk about the apartment hunting process. It can be rough, only because a lot of times there's a language barrier. I'm like messaging people in Spanish, trying to like reflect on my high school Spanish and my college Spanish, and also using Google Translate. And then like in person, oftentimes we were speaking in Spanish. So trying to learn all the words like for oven and is there air conditioning, all these things in Spanish was a little bit rough. And then also you just have to be on it too, on it, because especially around the time that we're moving in, hundreds of Auxes are also moving in too. So like flats go like this. So if you see some place and you like it and you're confident, be confident, then I say go for it in the spot. Don't be like, oh, I'm gonna shop around some more, because if you come back even an hour later, it could be gone. That happened to me. I was messaging this woman, like, you can look before you get here. Like, I was messaging this woman while I was in the US, and I was like, oh, I'll be landing in Spain at this date, like, can I set up an appointment and meeting? She's like, oh yeah, so we can meet at 5. My plane did not land till 3:30. I booked it from the airport, dropped myself at the Airbnb, power walk through the city, which I hadn't, like, it was a lot just to get there and have her tell me that she gave up one of the rooms, because we were looking for 2 rooms because it was me and my other roommate. She'd given up one of the rooms. She was like, oh, well, you can share one of these rooms. The room was like this. How are we gonna share? Okay, anyways, that's beside the point. But be on it, because even if they're like, oh yeah, even if you schedule an appointment, if someone's scheduled before you and that person wants it, they're gonna give it to that person sometimes, usually. So unless they're a little bit more picky about who lives there, it's really first come first serve. So if you're able to see it at 1 p.m. but you'd rather see it at 5, if you're physically able, go at 1 p.m. because you never know. So my roommate and I, she found our first apartment on Facebook in one of the Facebook groups, and then we found our second apartment on an app called Idealista. So there are several apps. There's Idealista, there's Body. I personally prefer Idealista, but I've heard great things about all of them. You can use these apps to find somewhere to live. They're often posted in the Facebook groups, and then once you're in WhatsApp groups, people will post, hey, someone's moving here, things like that. They also post about private classes in all of these groups as well, so that's also helpful. I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not, please do not put money down on somewhere that you have not seen with your own eyeballs. Please don't. Like, I'm not saying everyone's out here trying to scam you, but like, even if they're not trying to scam you, like, even if they tell you every detail, everything, there's nothing like being in the place and seeing things, asking the questions, meeting the roommates, seeing all of these things. It's so, so important. So I would recommend, this is what I did. I booked an Airbnb for a week, and I stayed in that Airbnb while I went around apartment housing, apartment shopping. I started work, our first day of work was October 1st. I got here September 24th. That was not early enough. I should have came earlier because my housing search, I really wanted to be settled and moved in and living by the time I started work. So I only gave myself a week to find somewhere to live, and honestly, it wasn't enough time. And especially if you're moving to a big city like maybe Madrid or Barcelona, like, you definitely want to give yourself a lot of time, because it's a process and you want to be comfortable where you live, especially in these current situations. With COVID-19, going back into lockdown is not ideal, but it is a possibility. So make sure that when you're finding somewhere that you want to live, that it's somewhere that you could potentially be locked down in. And for those of you that were not in Spain during the lockdown, it was not like the US. Like, it wasn't, oh, hey, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there. Like, we were in our houses for 2 months straight. So just be aware of that. Hopefully that won't happen again. Hopefully it won't happen again, but we have to be realistic. We have to prepare. When you're looking through these apartments and looking through these things, is it somewhere that you, like, can you look at these 4 walls for the next 2 months? Think about that. I speak from personal experience. The first contract I signed, the first place I lived is not where I currently live. I settled because I was rushing. It was 5 people, it was 1 bathroom, 4th floor, no elevator, like, but the price is what sold me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna save so much money, I'm gonna be able to travel some more. But like, your living space, like, for me personally, living space is so important. It's a part of my peace. It's somewhere you go every single day. It's where you spend a lot of time. So make sure that you put effort into finding it. And if you're ever unsure about something, voice it, think about it, don't ignore it, because I could have saved myself a lot of trouble and a lot of stress if I had just taken more time and really looked through more apartments and not rushed into my first place. I know all this can sound very overwhelming, especially in a foreign country, but honestly, you just break it down to paperwork. Like, break it down to when you get here. When you get here, your priorities are paperwork, SIM card for your phone, housing, and visa. if you think about it in simple steps, it makes it a little less stressful, at least for me personally. Roommates. So coming into the program, I actually knew one girl from my college who was also doing this program, but she was in a different city that was far away, so it wasn't feasible for us to live together. So I actually didn't give too much thought into finding a roommate beforehand. I was just gonna like rent a room out, and whoever was living there was living there. Hindsight's 2020, that could have backfired. But anyways, I ended up meeting my roommate on Facebook. I think I posted a question in the Facebook group, and she saw that we were from the same state, so we started messaging and ended up deciding to live together. We actually did not meet until I landed in Alicante. So that's an option. Through Facebook groups, through WhatsApp groups, you can find roommates and friends, and it worked out pretty well. We stuck with it. The first place we lived in, there were 3 other people living there that we did not know. So we came into this situation, they were already living there. Only one of them was American, the other guy was from El Salvador, and the girl was from Spain. So it really just depends on your preference. I don't mind meeting new people, and I didn't mind living with men. So, but if that's something that you absolutely do not want, make sure you're asking the landlord who lives here, who could potentially live here. Especially when you're in larger cities, you're dealing with Erasmus as well, which is like foreign exchange. So they're in and out throughout the year. So asking your landlord, all right, like what's your process? Like, are you gonna allow men and women to live here? Like, these are questions you need to ask, because like especially if you're living with Erasmus students, who you move in with in September may not necessarily be who you're living with in April and May. So make sure you ask those questions. Making friends. So I like to think that I have a pretty outgoing personality. I have my moments where I like to be alone, but I didn't find it that difficult to make friends. But I'm also living in a little bit of a smaller city, and I made sure that I was active. So like on our Facebook group, like there's a big Spain Facebook group where all the Auxes are in it. Then they have smaller ones by region. I was in the Valencia group, and then they broke it down even more and they made an Alicante group. And from that group, they created a WhatsApp group where we all added and we posted about meetups. Like the first few weeks were so busy for me. People meeting at the beach, people meeting at restaurants, people meeting to hang out, take trips. So it's kind of like the first day of school where you're meeting everyone, feeling people out, trying to decide who you like, and staying in contact with people is so important, because that's something like I wasn't very good at beforehand. Like if someone invited me out, I would go and have a good time, but like I'm not good at communicating. So I had to like make sure that I was like, hey, you want to do this? Hey, you want to do that? Because I came here alone. Even my roommate that I ended up living with, who I kind of met before, I never met her in person, but I'd only spoken on the phone and texted her. So you have to create your own community. Like I have no family here, I had no friends here. You have to build your own community of people, and you're not going to click with everyone, you're not going to get along with everyone, and that's okay. You just got to find your group, you got to find your people. You know, it's like high school, it's like college, it's like the first day of school. I'm sorry if those were traumatizing for anyone. It's just the closest analogy I can make, but we're all grown adults, so I think it'll be a good experience for everyone. And I've made some really amazing friends here, and I've made amazing friends that aren't in my program. I've met Spanish friends, Italian friends, friends from South America, friends from the UK, people from all over. So like if you really put yourself out there, you can meet people from other countries, you can meet people from other programs. It's really up to you. Your experience is what you make of it. So I also even made friends with my teachers. I got really close to my teachers. I would go out to lunch with them. So it's a really truly amazing experience if you take advantage of every opportunity and really put yourself out there, which I know can be hard. It can be hard. It's hard. I consider myself an extrovert, and I find it to be hard. So maybe I'm not an extrovert. I don't know, but yeah, I really enjoyed that process. I enjoyed meeting new people, I enjoyed doing new things, trying new things. So just do as best you can, but if it doesn't feel natural, don't do it. I know what some people did was they made Tinder accounts, but in their bio they said specifically looking for friends, and like fielded people out through that. And then I know Bumble has like a friendship account. I made one during quarantine, but we've already established that I'm not good at communicating, so I did not do well with that. Because on Bumble, it's like the woman is responsible, or like you only have 24 hours. I need more time. I need more time to decide if I want to respond, you know? So there's that. But yeah, and there's groups. There are also other WhatsApp groups and other Facebook groups like Erasmus and Alicante groups. There's a big community of expats in Spain, and everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's trying to meet new people. Everyone's trying to find their group, find their family outside of their home country. So just be open-minded, willing to meet new people, and it'll work out. You may not immediately click with the first people that you meet, and that's okay. Just because you're both in the same program and live in the same city does not mean that you have to be friends. You can be acquaintances, you know, because it's so important to protect your space, protect your peace, and be around like-minded people who you get along with. Like, who I get along with may not be who you get along with. Who you get along with may not be who I get along with. You know, so you want to enjoy your time here. So that's my 12 cents, because that was a long tangent. So as for what's next for me, I chose to renew another year. However, I am renewing in another region. I am moving to Madrid. I'm so excited. That was my original first choice. And while I've loved living in Alicante, I wouldn't change a thing about it. Honestly, truly blessed. I'm ready for something bigger, a bigger city, and I'm so excited. But if you like living by the beach and like a little bit slower but smaller but still city, Alicante, 10 out of 10 would recommend. But yeah, so moving forward, my vlogs will be of Madrid. I'm so excited to see what I can get into in the city. I'm excited. Also nervous. It was not an easy decision to decide to leave, because I could have renewed at my same school, which I loved, in the same city, which I love, around my same friends, which I also love. But it just came down to it. I felt like I would regret staying more than I would regret leaving. So I went with my gut and made the leap. And I'm hoping I land on my feet. And I'm hoping that it was great. Everything will work out great. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I was trying not to make it too long. I didn't want to ramble on for too long. But if you have any specific questions that I did not answer or you would like more clarification on, leave them in the comments below. If I feel like I'm getting a lot of the same question, I can make a part 2 of the video and answer any questions you might have. I know it's a really stressful process, but just breathe through it and think of the great times ahead. This was the biggest decision I ever made, but it was also one of the best decisions I ever made. So just think about it positively, keep an open mind, and you should be fine. It's great. So as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, share with your friends, and honestly, spread awareness about this opportunity, because I feel like not enough people know about it, and it's amazing. Until next time, bye. I forgot to say it in the video, but I will put the link to the website for the application below. It's closed for this year, but it's the same link for next year, so you can start preparing. Love this angle. But yeah, the link's below,